you said, it's the traditional advice that, the banks and financial institutions are selling us on, is that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that I talk to that wants to lessen their lifestyle that they currently have in the future.
Right.
They want either the same lifestyle or even a better lifestyle. And in order to do that, you have to have that same income. So this advice, and you touched on it, it's a big lie. They're selling you on a plan it's planned to fail.
You know who made it.
Welcome back to the Wealth Easy Show, where we talk all things wealth, health, and real estate. Today, my guest is an expert in eliminating future taxation, teaching people how to become their own banker, and supercharging their wealth. He is the host of the Cash Flow Architects podcast. Please welcome to the show, Matt Love. Matt, thank you for being here.
What's up, Johnny? Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to chat today.
Yeah, listen, give my viewers, my listeners, a 2-minute bio about yourself, because you got a really interesting past, because you never started off in the financial field. You started off as an architect. So I love the name Cash Flow Architects. You've kind of combined the two. So give a 2-minute bio on yourself on where you started in architecture, and then you kind of moved into financial. And I'd love to know how that all came about.
Yeah, everybody goes, how did those two match? Like architecture is so far off. They don't even teach business in architecture school. And all my architect friends, God bless them, it's a tough business to make a lot of money in, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But so I've always been entrepreneurial minded. And as an architect, you kind of you help people with experiencing life. And architecture is a beautiful marriage of objectivity, principles, and subjective creativity. That parallels very well with the financial world. And when you look at how the financial world works, there's a reason why banks make money. There's a reason why real estate investors make money. There's a reason why businesses can make a lot of money. And unfortunately, I had a friend back in, I was 27, so a long time ago, 14 years ago, whose mom passed away, and he inherited a retirement account from her. And the taxes hadn't been paid. And the advice was roll it over into another retirement account, for a 27-year-old. And here's this woman who passed away that didn't spend one day in retirement. And I was like, wait a minute, why put all your money in an account that you hopefully can use, you might not even use, and you're told you're saving taxes? Where are the tax savings? And so I introduced my friend to my father, who's doing financial planning for years, and kind of got to see the mistakes. Because at the time, dude, I was 27, putting money into a retirement account.
Mm-hmm.
What a dumb decision. Smallest tax bracket of my life.
It's what most of us do, because it's what we're taught.
It's because it's popular. Everybody in my office is putting money in a retirement account because they're going to retire. And you know what? They should, because they should retire soon, because a lot of people hated their jobs. They didn't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And the idea of retirement now, I think, is different than 20 years and 30 years ago, where people just wanted to stop punching a time clock, punching the check-in, check-out paycheck, and they wanted to live life. Well, we can live life without having a W-2, and I can retire without having a retirement account. I need money. I need cash flow. So how can I design this life that I want now, rather than waiting for this fictitious thing that when I turn 65, all of a sudden is going to happen? So I got out of the architecture world, got into the financial world, and just started beating up on the financial principles that exist. What are the objectives of how money actually works? And then subjectively get creative, and how can I create cash flow for myself?
Amazing. So how does that unique combination of skills, being an architect and your mindset, come together in the financial world to provide value for your clients?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, like I said, the objectivity. Financial principles don't change. Structural principles don't change. You've never seen a house with the foundation of the house being made out of glass, right? Because glass doesn't hold weight. Glass will shatter when it's underweight. But glass is really nice to look through. But we have to support the wall around the glass so that we can see through. In the financial world, there's all these principles that aren't taught. You do a lot with banking. we can set ourselves up just like a bank does.
Yeah.
Why am I paying interest to all these other people? Why am I postponing the use and liquidity of money for an event called retirement that I don't even know if I'm going to make it to? And if I do pass away, my spouse, the condolences from the IRS is that now she's a single taxpayer, not a married filing jointly. Who's to say she's going to be in a smaller tax bracket? So all of these lies needed to be exposed objectively. Like, here's how this works. Then when you understand, here's how you build a house. Well, here's how you build the foundation of your finances. Then we can be creative. And I like being creative with entrepreneurs because they think outside the box. They know how to take risk in their own right that they can control. And then I just show them how to never lose money by following the principles. And then it gives them a permission slip then to go be even more creative and take care of their family at the same time.
I like what you said there for a second. Let's go back for a second, because you said it's the traditional advice that the banks and financial institutions are selling us on, is that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that I talk to that wants to lessen their lifestyle that they currently have in the future.
Right.
They want either the same lifestyle or even a better lifestyle.
Right.
And in order to do that, you have to have that same income. So this advice, and you touched on it, it's a big lie. They're selling you on a plan it's planned to fail.
It's planned to fail. And it's a lie for not everyone, for a lot of people. Some people do want to take a step back in lifestyle, and that's cool. But I think if the CPAs and the traditional financial planners led the conversation with, I'm going to show you how in retirement, you're required to live on less in order for this to work. If they started the conversation that you're required to live on less than you do today in order for this to be successful, I think a lot of people would go, wait a minute, I'm not agreeing to that moving forward.
Exactly. I always said, if the banks, when they talk about, contributing to your 401k and contributing to your RSP, we have a certain season. Like in Canada, we call it the RSP season. And it's usually from January to the end of March. There's a timeline, 60 days, get your RSPs in,
Gotta get
right?
your money in.
Get your money, save tax. And I said, that's such a bullshit phrase. You're not saving tax. I think if the banks and these financial institutions said, come in and get your deferred tax account, you're going to postpone. People wouldn't be rushing to defer taxes.
No, and the way to prove it too, okay, then go put your money in. Let's prove that you're not saving tax. Take it out.
Yeah, take it out.
Take it out tomorrow. Bring it to the office.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it because you're going to owe the tax. And I don't know what in Canada, you are going to owe a penalty. Shame on you for even thinking you were going to save money on taxes. You're going to pay an extra 10% in penalty for taking the money out. So there's no tax savings.
Absolutely. And in Canada, let's just assume that you're making $100,000 a year and you're at the top marginal rate and you deposited $10,000 in on day one. And if you're in the average bracket of 30%, you're going to get a deferral or a reduction. It's a deduction in that year, right? It's not a tax forgiveness. It's a deduction of taxes in that year. You're going to see a deduction of about $3,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go walk in the next day and go, I need to pull that out, well, that $10,000 is going to get added to the $100,000 you made, and that could put you up in a larger marginal rate, and your average rate's going to go up. But now you're going to owe the government. You could owe them $3,500 because that just bumped you up, and that is a perfect example of why these things don't work. Governments have built 401ks and RRSPs that they built them to benefit them, not us. It's all built to benefit them.
Yeah, and I'm going to go one step further, and I have this chapter in my book that talks about this. The reason your advisor loves your 401k more than you do. Think about this, Johnny. Legally, well, if you were managed money in the market,
and I did for 16 years. From 1999 to 2001, I was in the bank service. I managed money, and then I went to a brokerage, and I built my book up to $65 million in 2016.
And
I was,
internally, what are the conversations?
I,
Capture the retirement plans.
yeah, and I was the guy getting paid my 1%, whether you win or
On
we
what though?
lose.
You're making 1% on pre-taxed dollars.
Yes.
The consumer pays a fee on money that they have to give to the IRS eventually.
Yep.
Okay, so as an advisor, they're incentivized the consumer to lock money up into an account that they can't touch without penalty until they're age 60. So it's a long-term play. So they're charging a fee regardless of the account's success, regardless of the performance. They get paid on an account value that the consumer will never see. Because if they liquidated the account, the IRS is going to take their fair share.
Yep.
But the advisor's not saying, oh, I'm going to charge you 1% on your portion.
Right.
And so the IRS doesn't share in the risk. They don't share in your tolerance of what you're invested in. But when you enjoy the money, they're going to take their fair share. And the advisor, the entire time, is incentivized for you to say, don't take money out. You're going to owe tax. We're saving you in taxes. Well, you're saving in taxes because you never used the money. That's like saying I never took money, and I'm watching money go from that bank to that bank, and I get a statement saying it's all mine, and there's someone making money on the volatility of that account. I never see it. I never spend it. I get a statement, and I'm concerned with the market volatility. And as soon as I pull it out, they're going to tell me not to take out too much because the CPA says it'll bump you into a next tax bracket. And the advisor's making money on all of it, knowing that the IRS is going to take their fair share on the exit.
What you just said is the reason why I sold my book in 2016. I no longer felt good about myself going into the office and giving this advice. I couldn't do it anymore. I said, this is not right. I'm giving bad advice. And I sold everything. And man, I went back to like starting from over again. I started from scratch. I sold a book of business that I was making 1% on 65 million every year.
Hold on a second. Let's not even glaze over that. So the financial industry is incentivized to capture pre-tax dollars because their revenue goes up 30, 40% because it's pre-taxed. And that becomes an asset to the financial advisor, not the consumer. You can sell your asset and you can retire on that money.
Yeah.
For the sale of the business. You're creating a business while the consumer is saving for an event they might never get to. And they certainly can't calculate how much cash flow they're going to have.
Hey everyone, it's John. I just wanted to thank you for being here, and I would ask that you please subscribe to the show by just clicking the subscribe button right here. I'd really appreciate it. It helps grow the show so we can get even more successful guests on the program to help you. If you're already subscribed, a huge thank you. When you subscribe, you're going to get access to the program before anybody else does. So if you would, just click subscribe right here. Thanks so much. And welcome back to the Wealth Eazy Show. What a great point you just made, because the only reason why I was able to carry on is I got a portion up front, and the person who bought my book of business financed it over 3 years. So for the next 3 years, I had an income that enabled me to sustain my lifestyle while building this other piece of business, which I do now, and that is educating people on the truth about money and avoiding the IRS, avoiding CRA. The kind of stuff that you and I are doing, and we're trying to educate people. That was the only reason that allowed me to do what I do now, is because I had that income. So yes, I built a business out of it.
We haven't talked about this yet, but the consumer is also lied to, thinking that it's just 1%. It's just a small fee. Okay, let's take the financial world out of it. Do you use Microsoft products?
Yes.
Okay, so can you buy Microsoft Office product one time, or do you have a subscription?
Usually what happens is you could buy the product, but then there's an annual fee that goes along with it.
So when you watch Netflix, did you buy Netflix and then you're done, or is there a monthly fee?
There's a monthly fee.
Why do you think these companies have changed from a one-time? You used to be able to buy the CD-ROM for Microsoft. Now you subscribe to Microsoft 360 or whatever it is, where it's like a monthly fee or an annual subscription. Netflix and all the. Why do you think they've changed from a one-time fee or one-time cost or commission to an annual or monthly fee? Why do you think that is?
Passive income.
They make so much more money, dude. The financial industry is the OG of the fee world. They know this. and they lie to the consumer saying it's saving, it's cheaper because it's only 1%. That can create a 20 to 30% difference in account value by the time a 30-year-old gets to the age of 60. 1% can create a 20 to 30% difference in account value after 30 years of being invested.
Jack Vogel said that. He came live. Jack Vogel, the CEO, the guy, one of the founders of Vanguard, he came out and he said, if you take a 1% fee over 40 years, you're going to lose 1/3 of your wealth to fees alone. And we haven't even talked about taxes.
Yeah.
So just like, and it's like what you said about the government. Our clients put up all the money, they take all the risk, and they only get 2/3 pre-tax. When you start to factor in tax, you're getting 1/3. 1/3 goes to the IRS, 1/3 goes to your advisor, and 1/3 went to you, but you took all the risk and you put up all the money. That's a bullshit money game.
It's a bullshit money game. And I think I'm hoping people are learning that. And we can stop fighting the fight where it's like, duh, how many times does this need to be proven to be true? The part that gets for me though, I'm 40 and I have 3 little girls. There's a rate of return of happiness. And when you watch someone save money in an account that they've never touched for an event that they don't know they're even going to get to, they are postponing their asset of happiness to a point that you can't even calculate. And to me, that's sad. It almost like when people say like, what's your passion? That hurts my heart to watch people think they're doing it right because everybody around them is doing it, and then never be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor.
And then you got guys like Dave Ramsey who comes out and says, well, you could get a 12% withdrawal rate. or I'm sorry, or was it 8%? Was it he came out on live 10. And he said 10% withdrawal rate. If you're making 12%, you're not even depleting your funds. And people are like, you show me any mutual fund, Dave, that is getting 12% consistently. Forget about sequential returns. Okay. You show me something that's 12% consistently, I will put everything and all my clients, and I will take out as many loans as I can at 6% to put it in and get 12%. And
but he says to pay off your 3% mortgage. Do that first, and then you go invest in the 12.
There's just so much bad information out there.
His office is right down the road, and I think Dave does good things for some people that spend more money than they make. I don't think
getting
he's
out of
bad.
debt is great. Yes.
Yeah, but I think when it comes to building wealth, he's done it completely backwards, and he admits it. He says when he went bankrupt, he over leveraged himself, and the banks called all of these loans on his real estate. So that's why I wrote the book, Don't Be Debt Free and Broke. Yeah. I don't want to have all my stuff paid off and have no money. That's what he's an advocate for. What he did was use other people's money to buy assets, and the assets went down in value, and the banks called the loan, and he got in trouble. There's a difference between being solvent and being debt-free. I'd rather have the ability to pay off the loan and keep the loan. If the bank calls it, I'm solvent. I can satisfy that call if I need to. But I'm going to choose to use other people's money to make money because I understand the difference between compounding versus amortization.
And exactly. But I think there's a really big distinction between debt and a liability. Debt is if, like you said, the value of the asset is less than the money you owe on it. That is debt. When the asset is worth more than the liability, you're in a positive balance sheet area.
You are, yeah.
Okay, because I could sell that asset, pay off my liability, and still have positive net return. So
the problem that Dave did was he bought volatile assets, real estate. And when the market went down, it went down below what he owed. And the bank says, we don't play that game. We're going to call the loan. You're now bankrupt. The bank didn't mess up. Yes, they did. But they're not going to admit the guilt. And then they're going to screw the investor or the person that took the loan out. And that's when Dave went bankrupt. Yeah. So I'm all for using other people's money, like you just mentioned. But my underlying asset is guaranteed to go up. And real estate is not. So I like real estate, but how I get involved, the hierarchy of the decision-making is going to make or break when the real estate market declines.
Well, I think if you take a look at most of the billionaires in the world, they either made it through their business or in real estate.
Yeah, that's it. Not in a mutual fund.
No, none of them. They don't invest in they don't invest in mutual funds. They invest in equity.
Gary used to say the only reason you have a rich uncle is because he had a really successful business and he lost millions in the stock market.
I never heard that from Garrett. Is there a particular story or experience that really opened your eyes to the flaws of conventional advice, and what motivated you find better solutions?
So I pride myself on being curious. And so when I started in the financial world, I was trying to be a sponge. And so you learn from guys with gray hair. Now I have gray hair. But you watch these guys, advisors, talking about, oh, we got to capture more assets. We need more retirement plans because they can get the feeds. It's their annuity. And so I watched these guys basically do sales. And I would sit back and go, how did you decide that? How did you, what's the parameters that made you, like, if I know that glass isn't going to be the foundation of a building, I know why. Why are you saying someone needs an IRA versus a brokerage versus insurance versus a Roth? Like, what makes you, and so I realized quickly, and I'll say this, most financial planners have no principles that they follow, financial principles. Morally, I'm sure they're good people, but they don't follow financial principles. So that was my first red flag. Then of the people that I was learning from that I really appreciate, which, the LEAP is a great guideline to set up financial principles. And I know you're a LEAP practitioner. So that's, yeah. I think it's the best thing out there that I've ever found. Watching the guys that do the assets under management, they call it AUM. Watching their disinterest in the lives of the clients and the disinterest in what they're actually invested in, and taking money and putting it into a third-party managed account where there's fees again. In other words, the people in the office that are the planners aren't making trades. They're not the day trade. They're not understanding how the money goes up and down. But every 6 months or every year when the annual review came, they would talk to the assistant, print off the file, look at the paperwork, and then come up with a narrative to justify why the account went up or down. Okay? I hated that. Like, what is this? You're getting paid to do nothing, literally do nothing. It's all third-party managed. Then you go one step further, and this is where it all came to blows with me in an agency that I was in, because I'm an advocate of entrepreneurs investing in themselves. Okay, business, real estate, and a boatload of life insurance to take care of your family, and then you leverage the life insurance to go do business and real estate. Wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, and I watched the advisors that did the AUM say, I'm sorry, this is a long answer, but he goes, Matt, what you're teaching is great, but people need assets. All their assets can't be in life insurance. And I said, well, I will 100% agree with you. Hopefully I never came off that way. I'm not a zealot. I think I believe what you believe, but I also believe those assets don't need to be managed by you. And the asset manager looked like I just kicked his dog. He got pretty upset. I said, they can have business and real estate and RV parks and helping other people and maybe invest in a third party, a friend's business or their son's or daughter's business. Those assets that you refer to don't need to be exposed in market volatility where you get to charge a fee regardless of the performance. And that was the end of that relationship. From there, it just went, and I went on my own and went independent from there on out, because I don't need to keep justifying and having the argument. I'm not going to convince the guy. Why would I care to convince him that what he's doing is wrong? Keep doing what you do, because I do believe there's a market out there for people that don't want to be involved in their money. They literally don't care. I know people firsthand. They're like, yeah, I'll just give my money to my guy and let him do something, whatever with it. That perfect clientele, not who I like working with.
Yeah, and that's, you bring up a really good point. They're advisors. They have certain clients that, John, I'd rather spend more time planning my next vacation than doing this stuff. So please just go ahead and do what you got to do. Just get me my 8% or get me my 10% a year. But if you're looking for to learn about the truth about money and how money really works, traditional advice, I don't feel is the right place to go. And there is no better person than myself to educate people on this, because I did sit on that side of the desk from 1999 until 2016. So people can't say you don't know what you're talking about. for 17 years, I
Yeah.
did. So
Yep. So
there's-
you went through the experience.
There's
and-
no better
and-
person than me to actually talk about the myths and the bullshit
Yeah.
that goes on.
Yeah.
Right.
This is where my favorite 2-letter word comes into play. If I could show you, you don't need to expose yourself to the market volatility, paying an advisor so he could buy a $3,000 suit every quarter and actually understand an exit strategy. If you don't have to do that, if you wanted to take control, know that you're okay. You don't need to have an active mindset, but have control over your money and understand the exit. Could I be the one to help you understand how to do that? You know, I'm not saying you need an active role in watching the stock market. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you didn't need to experience that crap and you got to just live back and not worry because you have guarantees and there's no IRS and there's no fees, is that something you would want to take advantage of?
Well, I always say to clients, if there is a way that I could save 2/3 of your wealth through either tax erosion and fees, and I can bring that back and put that into your wealth, is this a discussion that you want to continue having? And I've never had someone say, well, no, John, I don't want to have the discussion. Yeah, show me how I can eliminate these fees and eliminate the tax that's going to erode my family's wealth, and show me how to put this back.
And you got to get good with helping the client understand the difference between gross and net. I don't think a lot of people understand that. They look at numbers, you know, this number is bigger than that number. That means, you know, the bigger number is better. Not all the time, you know, you're looking at a gross number. I had a conversation with a really cool lady yesterday. She goes, I never understood the difference of gross versus net. I said, okay, think of it like this. Remember when you were a W-2, you get a paycheck, you get paid, you know, call it $4,000 every 2 weeks. Okay. Mm-hmm. That number is the big number, what you get paid. Then what's left over after all the taxes are taken out, that's what you keep. Okay. Imagine you get this big paycheck and you just get a little net and you get to capture whatever you can keep in your little net. That's what you have. Mm-hmm. And it's almost gross to look at how much money you were supposed to get before all the taxes.
That's a very good.
So it's gross to see the big number and whatever I can keep in my net. That's, and so for what your point is when an account doesn't represent what you mentioned, the 2/3, the fees and the taxation, it's going to look larger because the costs haven't been taken out of it yet.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of what you do, you service towards entrepreneurs, small business owners, high income people. And what unique financial challenges does this group face?
Typically small business owners, less than 10 employees, is that they think for themselves. Okay. So then they've learned a way to make money. And they mostly define themselves as conservative, which I find attractive because I would consider myself fairly conservative too. And the risk that they take is in their business. So financially, a lot of these people just harbor cash in the bank because they don't want to go invest in the market. So what I find is that people just sit back and because they're not in love with any money move outside of what they're already controlling in their business, they just sit on the cash. That's, I call it an enviable problem, but it's still a problem in itself because they haven't learned how to create the banking system that, you know, that we teach that they could easily set up for themselves. So it's not, I found myself, I don't know if it's because of the way I talk on social media and stuff, but I don't typically have a lot of pushback from people saying, you know, if I go put money in my IRA or max out a SEP IRA versus doing what you're talking about, you know, tell me why that's better. I don't get that very often. People, I think, can start to see through the SEP BS that exists out there, which is just a qualified plan here in the United States. So I don't get that a whole lot, but I do get a lot of people that just kind of sit on cash because they're comfortable doing it and they're good at their business. And quite frankly, I think that's what they should do. Because when is a 0% rate of return a good thing? Well, when the market does -20, you're going to really like the bank account when the S&P goes down 20%. So it's not always bad to have your money in a bank. I just prefer to have a little bit of guaranteed growth, get some more benefits, have leverage, take care of the family. I can do a lot better than what Chase would give me. Yeah. No offense to Chase.
What financial strategies do you teach families to avoid being handcuffed by the market's up and downs?
Dude, everything is about life insurance for me. Yeah. After you teach the principles, what can we then apply subjectively to be creative? Part of the best products that exist on the market include life insurance. So life insurance, so for me, I put all my money into a policy. big death benefit. If I die, the girls are taken care of. Then I'm going to leverage that policy over and over and over again for things that I want. Real estate, business, cash flow architects was started because of life insurance. My sports car was purchased because of life insurance. The license plate said my retirement plan. I used my retirement plan to buy the car. And as I put money back in the retirement plan, I had just as much money as I would have had. And I got to buy the car during the whole process. So, taking care of your family. And this is what the fulfillment of human nature is: taking care of yours, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, and exposing yourself to risk that's more calculated that you can control. So that's typically through business or real estate. So I fund my life insurance, then I leverage the life insurance for stuff. And what we talk about a lot is buying real estate that we can enjoy. So a house in the mountains of Tennessee, or beach house down in Florida, or what was the last one we were looking at? Just a lake house in Alabama, which I never thought I would ever say that, but a lake house in Alabama, because we could enjoy it a few weeks a year, and then I could let other people enjoy it and pay me to enjoy it. So now I'm buying assets that increase my happiness along with creating cash flow.
You deal with a lot of small business owners and entrepreneur clients. And what are the most impactful ways they can deploy the cash flow investment strategies that you teach to grow their business?
I think when you start to give them permission to invest in what they want, they get a little more excited. When you start talking about fulfillment of life, and like I was saying, with happiness with my family and creating memories with my girls, it allows them to get out of their own way and not think that they constantly have to turn 100 grand into 200 grand by next year. Stop doing that. Yes, it's cool, but that's not life, man. So I'd like to think that, I can help them enjoy the ride, because these business owners all of a sudden increase their net worth by tens of millions with life insurance, and then leverage it for what they want. So I've had a lot of people going, man, I wish I knew this earlier. Man, I didn't know it would work this way. I get to invest in whatever I choose now. I have a client investing in ATM machines. I'm like, bro, I haven't used an ATM machine in like 6 years. What are you doing? And it's a business model out there. So they get control over what they want, rather than feel like they have to chase the rate of return constantly.
Here in Canada, one of the biggest financial strategies that I use for my business owners is showing them how to get their retained earnings out of their business tax-free, give them access to it tax-free, and then they can actually collateralize that plan and use it for retirement income tax-free, and then have it all paid back into their corp tax-free, so that their shareholders and the beneficiaries can use it all tax-free. And the way that I do that is through corporately owned life insurance. Are you doing the same thing for your business owners in the US?
I have not used any corporately owned life insurance like that. It's super interesting, but I haven't used anything like that yet.
Do you guys have?
We've done a little bit of financed policies, which aren't quite as attractive now that interest rates have gone up in the last 18 months. We've done a little bit with PPLI, private placement life insurance.
Okay.
Like if I have a self-directed retirement account, I can purchase real estate and I can invest things all in that IRA wrapper. Well, in life insurance, because of the tax treatment, there's no tax on the growth. I can technically put ownership of a business inside of the life insurance wrapper through private placement. And then at the exit of a business, now where tax might be due on 200, 300, 400 million, there's zero tax due because it's all inside of a life insurance contract. So that gets kind of fun.
Are business owners allowed to own life insurance corporately in the US?
Yeah. There's corporate owned.
Yeah. Okay. I do a shitload of that. That's one of the biggest financial strategies, because the Trudeau government, when he came into power in 2015, he removed a lot of the tax deductions that a small business owner had. And
really?
He removed, he's so anti-business. He just feels that business owners and the employees should all be on the same playing field, even though the business owner took all the risks. So he removed a lot of the tax deductions, the income splitting, the sprinkling of money with your children. He increased the passive income rule. So if you own a company and you want to invest for your retirement and you invest into something that creates passive income, you're going to get nailed 54% tax on that. 54. So whatever you earn, government is enjoying the lion's share. So the only remaining financial
How does that
strategy,
incentivize the business to be?
it doesn't.
to be up-
It doesn't. The only thing he did was for the business owner, you're allowed the first 50,000 of passive income tax free. But if you have a company that has 3 business owners or 3 shareholders, it's
It's divvied up.
It's divvied up. It's not 50,000 per shareholder. It's 50,000 total.
Have you ever seen the Ben Shapiro clip that Ben talks to this leftist college student? Like, you own a pencil factory, and he thinks that the workers in the pencil factory need to have just as much ownership as the business owner. And Ben just lays the guy out. Like, who do you think took more risk?
Yeah.
The business owner who got the property, who negotiated a lease, that started a company, that paid for the logo, that got the LLC documents, that buys the insurance, that has the workers' comp, or you, because you can stick lead in a piece of pencil or a piece of wood.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you put it that way, there's no way that it's equal.
There's no other way to put it.
And it's not even like, what, can we swear in this?
Yeah.
What fucking business owner would shit on an employee in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, the whole presumption of that Trudeau bullshit that he's talking about is assuming that a business owner is just going to take advantage of the workability of the employee. What fucking business is sustainable in that market? It doesn't work.
It doesn't even incentivize the business owner to make any type of investments. Like you're not, according to him, you're not allowed to create some sort of retirement plan. He doesn't want that, right? He wants you to go and be a slave to your own business and give lots of jobs, pay lots of taxes. And when you retire, you're going to rely on him or the government for money. That is why the one thing that he didn't touch is corporately owned life insurance. And I think that is, I think it's in the near future they're going to try, but here we have the insurance lobbying agency. They spend about $150 million a year lobbying the government to not make changes because they would really fuck up all estate planning issues. But the one strategy that is left for a business owner is to be able to move money out tax-free, get access to it during their life tax-free, use it tax-free for retirement income, and then get paid back to a corporation, and any shareholders there, which could be the beneficiaries, gets paid out tax-free. That's the only thing that's left that a business owner here in Canada can use, which is really unfortunate because even trusts, when you try to set up a trust, I know trusts in the US are very different. Here, you can put money into a trust, but it's a deemed disposition every 21 years. So if you don't have if you've got assets and it grows in 21 years and you haven't done anything, you haven't disposed of it, you're getting a big tax bill, whether you like it or not, even if you didn't dispose of it, because it's a deemed disposition every 21 years. Yeah, it's man, it's so fucked up here, honestly, just with the taxes and the business owners. And it's really disincentivizing to a business owner to want to create something because the amount of taxes that we pay. But we have to be creative and we have to teach our clients that there are better ways of doing this. And fortunately, life insurance is the most misunderstood product, but it's a product that's been around the longest. It's been around longer than stock markets and stuff. It's been over 200 years and it's never failed.
But that's the value in it, is that because it's so old and it has survived all of the different politicians that have existed through the generations. It has in the United States, it went through a change in the 80s, but it has survived all of this. And then you look at, well, why wouldn't they change it? Look at what the politicians are doing, at least in the United States.
They're using
Joe Biden's got $15 million at Mass Mutual. John McCain used his life insurance to fund his presidential bid. These politicians don't want to tax themselves either. The same reason that they can do insider trading, the same way they can do insider trading, and they're not going to make that illegal. They're not going to make the insurance more taxable now either.
Well, the great thing, if you remember when 4 years ago when there was a debate going on and Donald Trump was on stage and the moderator said to him, well, you didn't pay any tax and you avoided paying $600 million in tax. Yeah. Is that true? Yeah. He said, absolutely, it's true, because you guys designed the system. If you want to fix the system, You got to change it, but you're not going to change it because all of your friends use the exact same
Yes.
system.
Exactly. And he's talking to a lady on stage who's been part of politics for 30 years.
Yeah.
Her husband was president of the United States. If you didn't like it, you would have changed it. You and all your friends do the same thing. I'm smart because I'm taking advantage of what you and your cronies all put together.
And that's just it. You and I we have this drive to educate people and being smarter with the money and learning these tax codes, because there is no other financial product out there that has more advantageous tax codes built in it than whole life insurance.
No, there's three ways that the government incentivizes money moves: real estate, business, and family. Real estate, we know the tax benefits that we have because you're helping the economy grow. You're giving places for people to live and visit, and you're helping the economy. The government will incentivize that. Business, take risk. At least here in the United States, doesn't sound like Canada, but they try to incentivize businesses here through deductions. And when you create jobs for other people, the government's going to incentivize that.
Yeah.
Life insurance, taking care of the family. I'd like to believe that the United States still cares about the idea of mom and dad. I'm going to say mom and dad, male and female, with kids, raising a family for the next generations. They're going to incentivize that. That's where the tax breaks are going to be. So to your point, the idea of investing in one of those three areas not only helps the IRS because it's creating more economic value, it's helping the individual. And so the individuals don't understand how the insurance component leverages the other two so well. You know, it's not one does better than the other. Some people are better at real estate. Some people are better at business. Some people don't want to do much of anything, and they can stuff all their cash into insurance and never worry with the market and still enjoy the tax benefits. Mm-hmm. So it's those three areas combined together that make it so fun. I kind of stopped pushing back on. Well, I don't know. I talk crap about that traditional stuff all the time. And so the people that I talk to, they were like, dude, I totally agree with what you're saying. I don't know what the next step is, but I want to figure out what you're talking about. How does this work? You know? Yeah. So I like to think that when I actually talk with clients, it's not more it's positive, because people are like, let's get political. Well, you know, this is a Wealth Easy. Wealth isn't always easy. Let's make it. When the COVID vaccine came out, my wife was pregnant. How could they tell us that there was no side effects for the pregnant mother or an unborn child after 9 months of testing? Let me give you the secret. They can't. That's why there's been 9 boosters ever since. The medical world comes out with reports from Harvard saying that it's healthier to eat Fruit Loops in the morning than it is to eat steak or eggs. Don't believe it. So when I sit here and tell you that Wall Street is fucking you, you can't act surprised. And these business owners and people go, you know what, dude, you're right. I totally agree. I don't even like my 401k. I got a couple $100,000. Should I take it out? No, leave it where it is. But your new money, dude, let's take control and have fun with it. Take care of the family, then invest in the way that you want.
Yeah. It's interesting, the advice even the government's giving, then they retract it back. They backpedal a couple of years later. God, it's unbelievable.
My office, there's a chiropractor who's really into the natural health stuff, and he goes nuts on that all the time. Like the drug of Ozempic. You ever heard of Ozempic?
Ozempic, yep.
Yeah, just shoot yourself with a drug and you're going to lose weight. Oh yeah, there's no side effects to that.
Lots of side effects.
Because the pharmaceutical companies make money treating things, not fixing them.
Well, every time they do create a medication, it's to cause other illnesses so that they can treat that too. It's a multi. It's not even the billions. It's in the trillions.
Trillions.
The amount of money.
They don't want you sick, and they don't want you healthy, and they don't want you dead. Right? Just like the banking industry. They want you sick. Yeah. Just like the banks and Wall Street don't want you independent.
Yep.
They want you relying on. If a bank taught us to make money the same way that banks do, we wouldn't need the bank. Of course, they're not going to teach us this. The teller who's making a good salary at $50,000 a year doesn't understand how the bank is actually making money. The advisor who's gambling with your money isn't even good with their own income. They're high income because they're charging you fees, not because they run a business or because they've invested in real estate. Most of the time, it's because they're charging fees on pre-tax accounts. They're not entrepreneurial minded. They don't own their own business. They own their own income through their brokerage, but it's not a business. You're just charging other people. It's a freaking, it's a lifelong fee with no exit.
Hence why they don't teach this stuff in school.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
want you to know. I had Scott Donnell on here a couple weeks ago. And man, I love what he's doing. He's out educating America and parents on teaching the kids money.
Love it.
If you don't
Have
get
you
a
ever heard
chance
of the
to
Rockefeller quote on school?
well, I've got a book coming out, and I did a whole chapter on the be like a Rockefeller, not a Vanderbilt. I don't know which quote
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking about. Which one are you talking about?
Okay, so Rockefeller donated a lot to the American educational fund from the government perspective. So he really invested in the education system in America, and he's quoted as saying, "I want a nation of workers, not thinkers."
That's right. Yeah, I know that one.
And so all of these kids growing up through school are not learning to think for themselves. I think it's scary. That's a slippery slope.
You know, and then touch on that. So how do you educate clients on seeing themselves as their own biggest asset to invest in, rather just investing in external businesses and markets?
What do you mean? How do I help them see that?
Well, I know you're really big on getting people to invest in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
What type of education are you promoting for them to invest in themselves? Because I'm really big on investing in myself. Listen, you want to make $100,000? I'll show you how to do it with 10 grand. You want to make $1 million? I'll show you how to do it with 100 grand.
I had a conversation recently with a friend who's on a fixed income for 20 years, and they're proud that they're at management level. And in the same sentence, they will tell me that they work 60 hours a week, yet they get paid for 40. They say this proudly, like it's a thing to hang your hat on. And I said, you realize it's easier to make an extra $10,000 a year than it is to save an extra $10,000 on a fixed income. Like for you and I, it's like, well, yeah, you have 12 months to make 10 grand. Let's go do it. Let's go. Well, let's go do it. Hit them like a ton of bricks, like totally blindsided. Like I never thought of it that way. The sooner you think about it, comprehend it, and try to put it in action, the better off you're going to be. So how to invest? I'm all about the education. I kind of remove myself from the next level of what are they going to do. I have a book coming out called The Entrepreneur's Asset. Beats up the financial traditional industry, shows them how insurance works, talks about mindset, how to make more money. I have an online course that people go through at their own time. And we're building a little community of professionals, attorneys, CPAs, business owners, real estate investors. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities that come from that as well. Mm-hmm. But the first hurdle is how to invest in yourself. We use policy life insurance. And then from there, most of these business owners just learn how to double down on what they're doing.
I love it. I'm a big proponent of trying to get people moving away from trading their time for money and to trading their time for equity.
Yeah. When you say equity, walk me through that.
Start a business. Yeah. Do something. Listen, everyone's complaining they don't have enough money. I get it. Times are tough. Taxes are going up here. As of April 1st, Trudeau's hiking the carbon tax, which is such a fucking bullshit tax. There's another.
Who's been on a private plane more, us or him?
Oh my God, him for sure. That guy burns more. He leaves more of a carbon footprint than fucking anybody. And here's the problem. He's jacking it up another like 23%, and he's giving out these tax credits, and he's in Parliament arguing that the Conservatives want to remove these carbon tax rebates. And Pierre Poilievre stands up and he says, well, let's do the math. Because a family of four in Alberta is going to get, they're going to pay on average $2,900 in carbon tax, but they're only getting $1,800 in carbon. So while you give them $1,800, you're pulling $2,900 away. He goes, tell me how that math works.
Man. Makes no sense.
It doesn't. It really doesn't make any sense.
It's tax breaks for the higher up, hidden through this altruistic view that it's helping the little guy.
Unfortunately,
because we're supposed to feel bad about these people.
Unfortunately, in Canada, I'm going to say I used to love my country. I used to. But when Trudeau came in, he's really fucked this up.
How long does he have left? I mean, does he have term limits?
Yeah, he's got until next year. He's got another like 16 months or something to make Canada more of a fucking communist country, honestly. But when I talk about, people going through a real hard time, I say, listen, if you can start a side hustle, try and start something that's symbiotic to what you're currently doing. Learn to create, learn to start to train your time for equity, because you get to determine what you're worth. When you trade your time for money, I guarantee you are not getting paid what you are worth.
Never.
And if you are able to even maybe get yourself as a consultant, if you're working for, let's say, a software developer, see if you can become a consultant, come off payroll, because when you get your check, the first thing that comes off are taxes. If you can move to being an IT consultant, number one, the employer will probably enjoy that, because he's not going to be paying your portion of the payroll tax, the CPP, which is the Canada Pension Plan, employment insurance. You're going to save him money. But working as a consultant, now when you're self-employed, the first thing that gets to come off are what? Expenses.
Costs, expenses, yeah. Overhead.
Then you get to pay tax on what's left over, because working for the man is, you get a check, taxes come off, and then you get your expenses. Change your mindset. If you're able to remove the man and become a sole entrepreneur and a consultant or something like that, that you are now self-employed, you are going to get to deduct expenses and then pay tax on what's left over.
You could probably draw a cool little image there. The order of things that happen it's just literally flipped upside down.
Well, Robert Kiyosaki has this in his book. Yeah. He's got a whole diagram. I mean, and I encourage people to go read Rich Dad Poor Dad, because he has this whole diagram in there on what entrepreneurs do and what people on salary do. Getting their W-2, or we call it a T4 income here.
Your boy, another fellow Canadian, Dan Martell, you know that name? No, he's an entrepreneur from the west side of the country. He wrote a book called Buy Back Your Time.
Okay. I think I've heard of that book. I've heard of it.
Yeah, you might like it. It's pretty cool. I haven't read the whole thing. I've read cliff notes of it, but he talks about it all the time. And it's all about how to, even if it comes with like buying an assistant or hiring an assistant, I'm buying someone to help me free up my calendar. Yeah. And I heard a wealthy investor the other day talking about how their best money-making moves consisted less of selling things than buying things. And once your entrepreneur mindset goes to increasing my income is the number one way at increasing my wealth. And then where can I put my money? Where can I buy to make my wealth explode from there? And part of it includes buying my time back and then buying future income.
Yeah, I love it. We are about out of time. I want you to tell my listeners, because you mentioned a couple books. You got one out, you got another one coming out. I want you to tell my listeners about your books, how they can find you. You've got your own podcast. Tell my listeners how they can find you and listen in on your podcast.
Yeah, man, no worries. So we have a podcast called Cash Flow Conversations. We interview entrepreneurs and successful business owners and some financial professionals on the journey from W-2 to 1099, because very seldom is the people that love you around you that don't want to see you fail very seldom do those people push you to go take risk on yourself. And the people that do it, we come out the other side and it feels wonderful. So I talked to these entrepreneurs about what that feeling was like, and then how they view money and what they've done to create so much success. I have a book out called Don't Be Debt Free and Broke. And it just doesn't mention life insurance. All it is about how to understand debt and the hierarchy, good debt versus bad debt. There is a difference, how to evaluate all that. Then a new book coming out here in a couple of months, should be out by June, I'm thinking. It's called The Entrepreneur's Asset. It goes over the mindset of an entrepreneur, beats up traditional financial planning objectively, and then it shows tactically how to invest in yourself using life insurance, buying a big death benefit, and then leveraging the policy over and over on yourself. Check out cashflowarchitects.com, where you have a free community there where you can go through free training and meet a bunch of other business entrepreneurs. It's whole community. It's really cool.
I love it. That's
It's all
awesome.
free too, by the way.
That's awesome. I'm really appreciative of your time that we get to, leverage each other's platforms and collaborate together and spreading the word and just really getting people to really get educated on how money really works in this world. Because
I love it, dude, because it's not even like convincing. I used to do sales. I used to sell garage flooring and cabinetry and car lifts in Chicago. That's sales. Now, I don't think I'm in sales. And I don't know if I'm even probably education more than, a sales role, but helping people get what they want from people that actually know, like, that's the direction I want to end up. There's nothing more fulfilling than that.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
And let me see your tattoo, dude, before we hang up. Let me see your new tattoo. Hold it up so we can see it.
It's my late father.
Dope. I love it.
Yeah, fresh last night. It finished at midnight.
That's sick.
It's amazing.
That's sick. I love it.
Thanks so much. Guys, listen to Matt's podcast. Go on his site and grab one of his books. And my book, Wealth Without Wall Street, Taking Back Control of Your Money in a Rigged Financial System, is coming out in about a month. So please go to johndurbano.com, get on the waiting list for the book, and get first to notify when this is coming out. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends and subscribe. It helps build the algorithm when we get more listeners. That is all today. Matt, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Take care of your wealth and your health.